So originally I got this engine from Kyle Mohan. It was supposed to be one of his backup engines for his Miata when he had in FD. So I snatched that off of him. The plan with this car is to make it cool, so make it NA, high horsepower, high revving. So I went with the semi-peripheral. I did the slided throttle bodies, which is really unique. No one really has that. The goal for this car is 500 on motor, which is really high. So I'm most likely run race gas and nitrous, but I'm just doing it for the sounds. You can easily put a turbo on there and make a lot more power, but I want the noises of the pure Rotary noises of the NA engine. And then drift the car. That's the goal, to go drifting with the car, because it's cool to have a really nice car like this one with really nice FC, but the FD is a bigger platform. So I want to make that into a drift car. It's not the easiest car to drift, but it just looks way cooler. That's going to be the goal for next year, to have this car on the track. NA P-Port, drifting it. For this car, I'm actually going to run a Link ECU. It's going to be the first time I'll be running a Link ECU on any of my cars. They're helping us out with this car, so we're going to get the ECU, the dash, and the sensors. I kind of want to go, I was thinking about ECUs at the beginning, but I've been seeing a lot of headway in Australia and New Zealand for Link, so I'm going to try it out on my own personal car before offering it to my customers. As far as the Link is really known for Rotary, so it should be a really great match for this car. And I can also progress on my tuning, so I can have another ECU under my belt that I can tune. So we usually build turbo 220Bs. We're going to be the first all motors. We're going to try a bunch of different things. We're going to run RX8 rotors that are machined for RX7 epic seals. So I have to cut the groove on the epic seal down a little bit. The peripheral ports, I'm actually going to go old school. And by old school, I'm going racing beat. I'm not going to try to get someone to machine the housings. I'm going to go with stuff that already works. So legendary racing beat housings are going to be in this car. That way I can actually get the advantage of having something that is known to work. I don't want to guess if the housing is going to work or not because of the port timing. So I'm going to spend the money with the racing beat housings for this car. They're not cheap, but the knowledge behind racing beat is worth having in the car. And this is going to be the first car I'm actually going to dry sump. All my cars are just wet sumps. This is going to be the first time I'm going to try doing dry sumping, just because my goal is rail limiter around like 12,000 RPMs. So I have to have plenty of oil in this car. So dry sump, P-port, high compression, RX8 rotors, and tuning and letting it eat pretty much. The epic seals, I'm still figuring it out. I've always ran Rotary Aviation, so most likely I'm going to run a Rotary Aviation. So if I'm going to be Rotary Aviation, all my cars have Rotary Aviation. I'm just gonna talk to them to see which is the better option for non-turbo. So they have the classics and the super seals, and I'm probably gonna run the classics because it's gonna be 80. So I don't need to have a hard apex seal. Everything else would be OEM Mazda. So OEM Mazda bearings, seals, springs, everything OEM Mazda. The only thing that's gonna be separate is gonna be the RA seals.
Dave, how'd you get started off with the Rotary?
Whoa, that was easy. All the piston stuff was blowing up all the time. And I watched the rotaries go round and round and round at some racetrack, and I went, wow. And then I talked to some people and say, what does that cost? And it was like a third of what I was using on the pistons. And then I said, how long do they run? And the guy said, I don't know. I've been running the same motor for 3 years and never took it apart. Done.
Yeah.
That was it. Just flat ass done. Went home, sold all the cars and all the crap I had piston, and went rotary. End of story.
Kyle, how'd you meet Dave?
Well, actually, I was really into motorsports. I loved cars. I loved hot rodding, and I was looking for a job. And Dave was like one of the few people that was nice enough to allow me to sweep the floors and basically pick up the tools around his shop. And that was really my introduction to the automotive industry. And I didn't know it, but I was working for like a legendary racer, and he made it a point to make that known pretty quickly. And then I realized that this was going to be a fun place to work, and I was going to be able to learn a lot. And I quickly realized that I didn't just like RX-7s on Gran Turismo. RX-7 rotary engines were amazing, and were able to produce a lot of power.
Dave, why should everyone get an RX-7?
Well, they're hard to get now because they don't make them anymore. They're great cars. We love them.
Yeah.
You know, honest answer: buku power. They handle good. The brakes are good. Gas mileage is not good. Emissions are not good, but they sure are fun to drive.
What's your favorite Mazda that you've owned?
I like my RX-8. That's what I'm currently driving every day. It handles great. The brakes are fantastic. Stereo works. Air conditioning works.
Yeah.
Windows go up and down now that I fixed it. No, I really like, of all the ones I've had, which I've had about everything, I like the RX-8 the best.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree. I daily my RX-8. Yeah, it's a great car. Mine's more modified, lightweight flywheel, Exity. I poured and polished it. Bunch of Mazda Tricks parts on there, and they're fun cars to drive every day, and they're great cars for the track. I think they're really underrated as a chassis, so I kind of fell in love with them as well.
Dave, how many years have you been at SevenStock?
I think I missed the first one. This is number 22, so that makes 21. I don't know. For all of them, they were the. That was R&D is the first one I went to.
Yeah, yeah.
R&D, then they moved to corporate headquarters.
Yeah.
Then out here.
Yeah, I've been. Yeah, a bunch of really good shows, starting at the headquarters, then bringing them out here. Didn't they have some at Willow Springs too?
They had one.
We went out to the track.
I think 2012.
Yeah, 2012. They did like one out there. I think the weather's the best it's been probably right now, and I'm more awake this year because they've been putting it right after SEMA, so I'm a little happier than years past.
Anybody watching this, welcome to California. It's about 90 degrees, sun shining.
Yeah. Beautiful.
Great day all the way around.
Great, thanks guys.
Rotary, Mazda Tricks.
So how long have you had this RX-7?
I had it since about 2001, mid-2001 is when I purchased it.
And tell me about the last engine rebuild.
This is currently the 9th or 10th iteration of this motor that I built together, and I was able to source an engine from Japan. Mazda's clearing their stock right now, so I have a OEM Mazda built and tested at the factory engine that I was able to pull apart, put the E&J seals, Kyle Mohan Racing seals. We also took the rotating assembly. We took the Mazda Tricks and they balanced it for us, so we can go up to about 9,500 RPM. They side cleared the rotors for us, and also had John that used to work for them but now works at Triple R Motorsports do a massive street board on the engine. And then I reassembled it together with studs, and also a Race to Apex seal oil pan, which reinforces the rigidity of the block. Yeah, so this is the first time I actually went with an OEM motor that has all brand new parts. Before that, it's common practice to just use the parts that you have and replace whatever breaks in the process. This says ready to tune miles. I did a trip to Vegas and also did a few drives around town. Did a remote tune through Santa Barbara. So I would say it had about 1,700 miles on the new engine before we put on the dyno 2 days ago. I lost the other engine at SevenStock last year when I was on the track in about lap 3 of the first heat in the morning.
What failed?
Blew out our first rotor.
Did you guys figure out what caused it?
I just know it's completely trashed. And that's because I drove the car another 100 miles that way. I drove it home, and yeah, but the Apex seals gave out. I'm not sure. That engine was in there for about 5-6 years. I rebuilt the whole entire car, but the drivetrain remained the same. It was still running, so we didn't need to. We basically left the block in there, but upgraded everything around the block and the whole entire car. Fuel pumps are here, and also my pickup pump, that is the lift pump, is over here. We run E85 currently. This is how I fill up the car. We did mold in the whole body, and there are no gas doors or anything protruding outside. I want to keep the body line smooth, and this is actually incorporation of how to fuel the car and keep the body clean. And also we have our radium 100 micron filter in line to be able to support the 3-stage injection that this car requires to run E85. So we have about a 5,000 cc of injectors per rotor, so 10,000 cc total, and this bad boy is the one that's actually providing the fuel for that. All right, so if you guys like the car, you want to learn more, the car has its own YouTube channel and Instagram. You can follow us on Instagram at 947_media and on YouTube 947 media.
So I got the engine about 2 years ago. It started out as a motor from New Zealand from a company over there. And yeah, it was basically purchased as a package. And we put it in this car. This car was like a parts car, roller. Restored the chassis, put on a rotisserie, painted it, all kinds of stuff, body work. And yeah, so we put the motor in, got it running. We had a few issues with the machine work on the engine. We tore it down, took it to these guys in Indiana, Zachariah and Clint Richardson, and we just kind of blueprinted the crankshaft, fixed a few issues with the keyways, Chip Ursu put some new inserts in the peripheral port housing so they wouldn't leak, and a few other guys around the area. Really awesome fabricator, Walker Morgan, did the exhaust system on the car and the manifold to get the sound. Just kind of been an evolving process from there, man.
Since you purchased the engine, how many times have you taken it apart?
Just one time.
So you've taken it apart one time.
Just
What
one time.
was the main reason?
The main reason was we were having issues with compression, and we thought maybe it could have been a tuning or maybe the apex seals or something like that. And when we tore the engine down, it turns out that the rotors were not clearanced and balanced correctly, and they were contacting the irons. And so there was just a few things that had to be done with the crankshaft, like the keyways needed to be straightened up a little bit. And we needed to clearance the rotors for the high RPM so they wouldn't touch the irons. And we replaced the apex seals with the goopy seals, and we put it all back together. Ever since then, everything's been fine. So right now the engine is just it's amazing. I'm super thrilled with it. Tons of power. A lot of people say, what's it like with the turbo and the lag coming on with a big turbo? Well, with the 4-rotor, it already has so much low-end torque that it sort of just blends in real nicely. So we love having the turbocharger in the top end. It's really fun to drive. And so, as far as the engine setup is concerned, everything's great. We've got it dialed in perfect. But today we did break the gearbox, so now it's time to start looking at the drivetrain.
I've had the car since about 99 or 2000. About a year or two after I had the car, I decided to rip the engine out and take the chassis, send it to the cage guy, so it was caged right away. And then what happens with engine builders, they take years. And then wiring guys and everybody else, they all take their time and take years, and body, and all said and done, it took about 14 to 15 years to get it running. And this is where it sits now. Engine's actually been rebuilt a few times. It's getting actually rebuilt again. It's got low compression right now, but it's running now. It makes 700 plus. It makes 715 to the ground, 605 foot-pounds of torque. The new engine is being built by DNA Garage. And
Are you making any changes compared to last time?
so the existing engine is a street port. The new engine is going to be a bridge, studs, pretty much a basic solid engine build.
And which apex seals are you going with? Two-piece?
It's going to be a two-piece. I believe that they are the new Iron Eddy steel seals, the Rotary seals. The car's tuned by Shane Teef. He's world-renowned Motec tuner. It's got a Motec dash, PDM. It's over the years I've been able to just get everything I wanted without breaking the bank, because one thing at a time. It's not really that hard. It's got an EFR 9180, electric water pump. It's got pretty much everything that you can think of. I just changed the whole drivetrain to T56 with a dual disc clutch and a 8.8 rear end with drive shaft and pro axles. I really can't think of anything I haven't changed on the car.
I've had the car now for 2 years, about 2 years, give or take.
And how did the engine come?
When I first got it, it was pretty much a stock motor with the stock twins with HKS intakes, and we pretty much did a whole entire overhaul except for the internals, because the person I bought it from had 10,000 miles on the last rebuild, so there's still stock apex seals, stock rotors, everything else inside internal.
When you got the car, what was the first thing you did?
Oh, actually, first thing I did was I just lowered it, to be honest, but once we started the build process, that was when we stripped the whole car down. It came with the C-West body kit. We tore that off, ripped the engine out, everything, and we sent it to paint. Actually, I was gonna paint the car the same color as one of my other cars, and I saw this old lady just driving down on the freeway in a Volkswagen in this color. I was like, I gotta have that color. And I ended up picking that color, which is a 2017 Volkswagen color called white silver metallic. FDs have been around for so long, the whole inspiration with this build was we wanted to build something totally different from other FDs. So if you notice the engine bay, a lot of things are different. Like, you know, the coil packs are in a different location. The way we mount the radiator is different. Most people, when they're doing their intercooler piping, it kind of runs to the center of the motor. We went around it so we can showcase the actual motor itself, right? And powder coating wise, we use Pack Coast powder. They're the same powder coaters that do it for Dave Kindig. I mean, they're really high-end powder coaters. I trusted their work, and as you can see, they did a hell of a job with the powder coating. When this motor goes, we're gonna either go Bridgeport or a peripheral, just debating on right now. But that's the ultimate goal. I do want to go porting. I just didn't want to do it at the time because so much money was going into everything else in the car. So.
And what would you tell someone who just got an FD? What advice would you give them?
Oh boy, enjoy the ride. It is a financial disaster like everybody says, but you know what, at the end of the day, it's well worth it. I mean, for myself, to be honest, I built this car for my daughter. It's actually dedicated to my daughter. And when she's old enough, she's getting the car. So that was my inspiration for the build. But you know what, it seems like a long road, but just hang in there. Just handle your business, make it happen. When we were building this car, it was with the inspiration of building a show car. So I wanted the turbo, obviously everyone looks at the turbo in the car, I wanted it to be really clean. So Pack Coast Powder actually did body work on it to get rid of all the texture on it and use fillers or whatever it can to get that mirror finish on it. So that's why you get that perfect mirror finish, there's no texture at all. And especially if you're gonna powder coat it black, if they had texture, you would see it, right? So it had to be really smooth for them to get that finish.
The next couple steps for my build are very straightforward. We're gonna be breaking it in. That engine is billet. It's not pieces of metal that were ever meant to be together, so we gotta make them play nicely. So we have to not only break it in, but anneal the motor, the metal. After that, it's building the things that are necessary to take it on the street. Initially, parking lot, you know, it's gonna be fun on YouTube, just little bits of low rev, dealing with throttle transition, all this fun small stuff with Adaptronic. And then we start adding boost, adding a little bit of power, and then going from there. After about 2 months or so, we're gonna be taking the engine out and engine dynoing it. Right now I have the smallest exhaust housing on that turbo made possible. That way we have maximum boost response up to 1,000 horsepower before it starts having tons of back pressure. We have every other exhaust housing, so we'll just take it on the engine dyno, do a lot of A/B testing, test everything, and see what is the maximum horsepower that that turbo and that engine can make. Everything that I learned in the last couple months has resulted in this. It's not the last couple months that I would change. I wouldn't change a single thing. It's over the last couple of years I've learned things that would make this even better. But you know what's funny? I wouldn't change anything even then because everything that I would not compromise on got done. So even mistakes, like something, for example, as the chassis height being at 2.5 inches above where the ground height should be, I've utilized that space for hoses, protecting them by having them underneath the chassis. So even things that you consider mistakes have turned into just a different approach to solving the problem. So I honestly, at this point, there's nothing crazy that I would change about this car. It just means that I could build the next one even better.